Hey, this is a bit of a it's a live stream, right? But it's a non-live live stream. So I've got several topics preordained. Right? The only thing missing from this, not making the live stream, is the chat. But there's the comment section down below, and if you leave a comment, I 100% read it and probably respond to it. The reason why I don't respond to every single comment is because I've noticed when I do that, I get less comments. It's so weird. But anyway, let's jump right into it. Speaking of comments, the first portion of the live stream is comments, right? So these are from my patrons. I usually do patron comments in live streams. If you want to join my patron, please do so. You can join for $2, and as you can see, there are 37 different audio episodes for House of the Dragon. It's all part of my podcast over there called Leaks and Lore. And then there's 21 different episodes of A Song of Ice and Fire. I was working my way through POVs in A Clash of Kings. Just so much content available immediately for just $2. Please go and check it out. There's videos. Most of the stuff up there has never seen the light of day of YouTube. I can be myself over there. I can say whatever I want. And just, like I said, if you are a big fan of mine, you want to take it a step further, consider joining that. It's linked down below in the description. So the first question I want to answer is from Anna Redarte. And she says, do you think we will get White Walkers in House of the Dragon? And now, Anna, I've answered this. I think it was either in a live stream from you or someone else over on Patreon maybe submitted that. But for that I will say this. All right, I have a okay. So White Walkers in House of the Dragon in canon doesn't happen. What's weird though is in Fire and Blood. Oh yeah, by the way, I did a video when the season first started. It was called literally White Walkers and House of the Dragon. Please go watch that. If I don't link it down below, just go to YouTube and type in Sir Hunt's White Walkers Hot D, and it's got a picture of a White Walker and Damon. Damon at the contest that he had where he was, fighting an attorney, right? Anyway, so in canon, in short, no. White Walkers do not appear in the Dance of the Dragons. But you got to realize that there's no POV characters during this time. Like, it would have been really cool if George wrote POV for some of the more major characters, right? Even if it was just for something that the show would use. Just as a baseline for how to explore the proper way to adapt George's creation on the screen. Like, it's a character, yes, but ultimately you have to know George's work really well to understand what he does with a character from start to finish. You can't just have read, the hero's journey before. Let me fix my hair. It looks crazy. All right, so yeah, you can't just have read, the hero's journey and be like, okay, I got this, I got the full picture, I know what George is doing with this, because that's not the case. He's so well read and takes, ideas from everywhere. It's hard to sort of pin down, his characters without having his own thoughts of their thoughts, right? So getting back on track here. We don't know for certain that there were no White Walkers during this time period. What makes me even sort of entertain the idea that there was is there's a story. Right before Viserys dies, he tells his two grandchildren. He's got several grandchildren, but two of them, right, Jaehaerys and Jaehaera and Maelor, right, three of them, I guess, are in his room. Obviously, Rhaenyra's over in Dragonstone at this time. Books are a little bit different. It's not necessarily one specific instance where they have a big dinner per se. Like there is, and Viserys makes Rhaenyra and Alicent say public declarations of their love, and that's what we got in episode 8. But there isn't like Rhaenyra doesn't come over right before he dies, right? You get what I mean? Like, that dinner doesn't happen right before Viserys dies. It's a couple years later that he dies. But anyway, so he's entertaining his grandchildren, right, via Helena and Aegon. So that's Jaehaerys, Jaehaer, and Maelor. They're sitting on his lap, and he tells them a story. He says, yo, your grandpa, Jaehaerys, your namesake, so your great-great-grandpa, my grandpa, right, he fought a host of wildlings, wargs, and King Beyond the Wall, right? When he went up north with Alysanne, and they did, like, basically, they got rid of some, in short, they got rid of some old northern traditions that were past their prime, and Alicent found out that they were sacrificing babies at the Bastard Gate at the wall, and she told them that's not going to happen anymore. They gave them a bunch of lands and stuff. They renamed the Bastard Gate the Queen's Gate, right? But we don't know all of what actually went on there. What I do know, what everybody who's read World of Ice and Fire and all these Song of Ice and Fire series know, is that there's always trouble brewing up north. It's just a matter of time before a king declares himself king beyond the wall and tries to bring everybody down south. Now, there may have been several different occasions where the king beyond the wall was just trying to get his people into a better land, but that's not this story. The way this story works is that most of the time, when something's repeated, right, the cause is probably the same. So the last time when all the dragons died in for House of the Dragon, we'll see when they die at the end of it, magic dies, right? So people who can do shadow demons, shadow babies like Melisandre, if she was around during this time period, her magic would decrease, just like it increased when Daenerys brought back dragons. So getting way back on track here, it is 100% possible that Jaehaerys and Alysanne fought White Walkers, along with the wildlings and wargs. And the reason why they were fighting them was because of the White Walkers. So maybe they didn't actually see them, because remember Alysanne's dragon, Alysanne, her dragon, Silverwing, never flew her north of the wall because there was something up there. So, Anna Redarte, to answer your question, are there going to be White Walkers in House of the Dragon? It's possible. I'm curious to see how they could incorporate that plot. And then the next question, only got two. This was submitted. Where did it go? This was submitted by my patrons, but only two of them submitted questions. And then, so Billy Bob Robertson says 100K. Woo! Thank you. This was in a post where I got verified on YouTube, which I didn't know this, but I could have been verified way long time ago. Thought I had to have 100,000 subscribers, just like the silver play button. But that's not the case, because there's people with 50,000 less subscribers than me, and they got verified. So hopefully that helps with losing subscribers and not being promoted in the algorithm. But yeah, so Billy Bob says 100K. Pebble says 100K. Thank you. Brienne Johnson says congratulations, you deserve it. Thank you, Brienne. You're actually part of the reason why I was able to get this laptop, along with everybody over on Patreon, and Redarte included, like everybody that donated to that GoFundMe. Thank you so much. As a way of saying thank you, this is the frequent content. With this backdrop and how often I've been uploading, it's all been thanks to this laptop. But the question comes from the North Must Remember. He's a big time, long time subscriber. He has a YouTube channel. Go check it out. Thank you for your support, buddy. He says, in season 2, Sam finds the dragon glass at the Fist of the First Men, along with an unnamed war horn. If this is in fact the Horn of Winter, who do you think stashed it there, and for what purpose? He says, sorry, I've been absent. New house, new job. Keep up the great work. No worries about being absent, man. I'm glad that you support me. If I'm doing something wrong, let me know. That goes for anybody on Patreon or here on YouTube. If there's something that I'm doing that you don't like, let me know in the comments. People on YouTube, everybody, it's just, that's what the comment section is for. Like, I may not like what you have to say, but you can totally do that. So he says, just to reiterate, in season 2, Sam finds Dragonglass Fist along with an unnamed warhead. This is the fact that Horn of Winter. Who do you think stashed it there? For what purpose? All right. So to answer the first part, that's not the Horn of Winter. For the TV show, maybe. I think that was the idea. Is that they wanted to, if I'm not mistaken, in A Song of Ice and Fire, Sam finds an abandoned war horn, and when Jon meets with Tormund in the Wildling camp, Jon sort of figures out that the war horn or the horn of winter is like 6 foot long. It would take like a few people to carry it. Um, it's just not the same description as what Sam finds at the Fist of the First Men. That's likely a horn that's just like used by Brothers in Black to summon more Brothers in Black, to call for reinforcements, or to let everybody else know White Walkers are coming, right? So 3 horn blows means White Walkers, 2 means wildlings, one means a white Ninth Watchman returning, right? I think a Ranger returning. So that's what that war horn is. The show, there's a bunch of plot lines they just completely abandoned. It's potential that they wanted that to be the Horn of Winter, but when you read the books, you has a Horn of Winter. In order for it to be something that could evaluate loud enough to bring down the wall via sound waves, it has to be like this massive 6-7 foot long thing banded in gold. Like I imagine. Ugh, that's nasty. Ew, I might have. Ugh. That was absolutely disgusting. But yeah, just to sort of get back on track here. Anything that would be loud enough to bring down something as massive as the wall. It has to be the way that George describes it, right? So we have Jormun's horn being described as this massive, like it's literally an amplification device. So if a voice amplification device. So if you want to bring down something that's as massive as the wall through voice amplification, you're going to need a massive horn. So I don't think that that horn that is found at the Fist of the First Men is the Horn of Winter in the TV show. Thank you for submitting that. I will say that if the Horn of Winter was real, I agree with John's POV in that they would have used it to bring down the wall. They wouldn't have had to wage war on the Night's Watch to get through. They would have just brought down a section of the wall and got through. Now, you could juxtapose that and argue that point by saying, well, Mance literally says that they don't want to do that because if the wall's down, then it won't be able to stop the White Walkers, and the whole reason of them coming down south is to get away from the White Walkers, so if the wall doesn't exist, this whole thing's been pointless. I sort of agree with that. I just don't think that just to sort of summarize in answering your question, I just don't think that that horn that we saw on the TV show was the Horn of Winter. Thank you for submitting that, Northwest. Remember, the next little bit is still questions. These are just the most recent questions from my YouTube video. And I'll just answer like a few of them. So this one's from a username. Y'all can see this, right? Y'all should be able to see this. All right, there we go. This is from a username Abi Subidi. I feel like I've blocked this person before because they just come and troll. But they didn't leave a troll comment this time. They said, even if it's true, it doesn't mean much. Things get pushed back more often than not. Exactly. Yes, that was my exact point in the video. Is that, like, nothing has been delayed yet. The first episode of the show literally aired 6 months ago. The show ended just 4 months ago. Nothing's been delayed yet. They've been writing. If I imagine Kondo's been making rough drafts of the season 2 outline since the show aired. Right? They got greenlit for season 2 after episode 1 aired. So, and then the next comment comes from a username Doral Hayes 8812, and they said, I think she couldn't be Melisandre because she is the daughter of Aegon the Unworthy Bastards, although she could be like Melisandre. So you think Melisandre is the bastard daughter of Aegon the Unworthy? I don't. Melisandre is in the few POVs that she has in the Dance of Dragons, she confirms that she's from Shai. She's Melanie of Lot 7, a slave that was sold to a Shai. None of the great bastards or any of the named offspring from King Aegon the Unworthy were forced into slavery. Like, they might have been exiles, but it's not, in my opinion at least, I don't think Melisandre is the bastard daughter of Aegon the Unworthy. Potentially, it could be the bastard daughter of Shiera Seastar and Bloodraven. I've heard that theory before, kind of like that. Uh, thank you for that comment. And then the next one, you just said, I don't think the show's delayed. I don't think the show's delayed either. Joe Stewart 554 says, where did you get that idea? I don't think so. All right, so I'm not saying that Alys Rivers is Melisandre. The whole point of what I mentioned in that video and the title of it was to juxtapose it to everybody commenting. So she said, where do you get that idea? Well, Melisandre is 400 years old in the main show. So, and that's in canon in the main show. So she's obviously around 150 years before that. That's where the idea came from. And then the next comment is from Triton5497, and this is actually the North Must Remember. One of my members of my Patreon, he's got a YouTube channel. Please go subscribe to it. It says, best video opening ever. Thank you, man. Hopefully you enjoyed this video opening as well. Then the next, let me skip down a bit. We got one from That Wicked Witch 8140 says, she is not Melisandre. They practice the same magic, and that is all. And we don't actually know if Alys Rivers practices the same magic. Melisandre, okay, I know Melisandre actually. Okay, so going down, House of the Dragon delayed until mid 2025 because the showrunners realized how bad everything was, and they're now rewriting. This is why 15-year-olds need to stay away from FIFA. Exactly. That's so silly. Like, the accounts, I've seen like 3 accounts on Twitter, and I fucking blocked them. Please go block them. If you see, like, I don't know why the mods on House of the Dragon allow people to post those posts. It's so stupid. It's fake. Like, you'll see a picture of like Rhaenyra or something, and it'll be like meme version, and they'll have like 4,000 followers and be following like 5,000 people or something, and all of their followers are bots, and most of their tweets get like 30 likes, right? Around the same number, and they'll just make up stuff. Like, they didn't like the writing choices. Like, there was some people that didn't like, the writing choices in season 1. I didn't like some of the writing choices in season 1, and they think they have that same dumbass mentality that people had at the end of Game of Thrones season 8 when they're signing the change.org petition for HBO to refilm season 8, to rewrite season 8 or some shit. That's that same mentality. It's like they're coming up with fake rumors of stuff that they want. So they want rewrites or whatever, because one of the writers they don't necessarily agree with. Here's the thing. They don't have a very nuanced opinion, don't really understand the subject matter, because they literally refuse to just read the books. Like, if you read A Song of Ice and Fire, you wouldn't be on Twitter tweeting that nonsense, right? I read A Song of Ice and Fire, and I'm on Twitter tweeting nonsense, but it's literally nothing. Like, being like, ooh, I'm Team Greens, you're Team Blacks, here's why Team Greens. I don't do shit like that. Like, that's silly. If you want to, that's fine. You can do that. But don't make up stuff and then it gains traction. And then, to be honest, I'm kind of embarrassed because a couple of, like, online A Song of Ice and Fire magazines that I follow on Twitter retweeted the shit. So they sort of legitimized it and had it gain more traction. But yeah, no, it's like, it's all nonsense. The next comment is from Gina Lola 333. She says, oh my God, your hair is pure energy. So awesome. Well, how about this? Let's do this then. I'll take this off. Have as dramatic effect as I want. Light and fluffy. Light and fluffy. Thank you for leaving that comment, Gina Lola, and you are a member of my Patreon as well. So thank you for your support over there. Let's see. So the next comment, I'm just skipping a few. Is from Divine Sharika. And she says, or he or she says, apart from Nettles and Daron the Daring, Alys Rivers is one of the characters I'm most hyped for. I hope she gets enough screen time. She has the potential to be one of the most intriguing characters like Larry Strong. Hell yeah, the mystery about her character. I'm sure whatever they expand and add upon to her in the story will be amazing. The next comment comes from Coat the Barkeep. I like that username. They said, finally, I thought you forgot about us. No, I upload like 10 times in the past 3 days. I didn't forget about nobody. In this comment from Tishim or Tai Shim, dot 3820 says, bring in the warships. That's hilarious. So I did a Davos theory video back before Game of Thrones season 8 ever came out. And I was like, I get excited how I normally do, and I think I had mentioned something along the lines of Davos is like he'll need to be used for um the war against Cersei and the White Walkers, and one of the ways he could be used is he's an admiral, right? He controls Stannis' ships. This was back before I read the books. This was back when I was just show only. I pretend to read the books. I would quote POVs, not have any idea what the fuck I was talking about. But so yeah, I was saying Davos could be the captain commander of Jon and Daenerys' ships, and then I guess I did something where I said, "Bring in the warships," and that was what the comment was in relation to. Thank you for leaving that. That's like I said, a classic video. That video probably has like 100,000 views or something. You can go watch that if you want to. It's called the Davos Theory Everyone Missed, Game of Thrones Season 8. This next comment comes from a username. Let me put that back up for y'all. The next comment comes from a username Albuquerque Con Man 4294. It said, "Dude, ... You do a lot of quiet talking, and then you get really loud. You need to incorporate a compressor and or limiter to get your audio balanced when you start getting excited and loud. LOL." All right. Well, thank you for the feedback. This right here is a $25 microphone from Walmart. The device that I'm recording this on is a $1,100 laptop from Best Buy. The camera is a Logitech C920. It's $120. All of this combined is about $1,500. In the past, since last November, I haven't even made that much on YouTube. So, like, I think the quality of my videos, audio equipment that I use, video equipment and stuff is light years ahead of where I'm currently at, like subscriber wise and like views and all that. So like I put way more energy, effort, and actual money into my channel than I get back as of right now, and it has been that way since Game of Thrones went off. So thank you for your feedback. I think I got my stuff handled when it comes to that. I did a pretty good job saving up for this laptop. I can now edit videos pretty much all the time. I have a gaming computer upstairs. The microphone that I use upstairs when I'm streaming and stuff, that's a Shure SM7B. That microphone alone was $500. Then I had to buy the limiter and all that stuff that you're talking about. It's Cloud Lifter was an extra $130. I spent about $700 setting up the mic, $2,000 on the computer that I built, another $800 on the monitor that I built. I got equipment. Thank you for letting me know that the audio in that video did sound slightly off. It's going to sound that way until I can afford to buy yet another microphone. And, it takes a while here on YouTube. Doesn't really make sense for me to continue to spend way more money than I'm making out of YouTube. That's just not logical. That's not how anybody would run their business at all. But thank you for leaving that comment, my dude. Hopefully you have a better day than what you were having when you watched my shit. All right, so let me skip down a little bit. The next one's from Dennis Sorensen, my buddy. 2 in a row. Sir Hunts, my man. Dennis is always one of the first commenters on my videos. Thank you, Dennis. Your support does not go unnoticed. Thank you so much. As a matter of fact, one of your donations is part of the reason why I was able to get this laptop. So thank you, Dennis. And the next one is from Justin Gint 5088, and he says, "Yeah, would you like to see the tapestries?" Haha. Yeah. We all know tapestries. Remember, what's interesting is those tapestries are basically softcore porn. And in the main series, Littlefinger asks Cersei to have Robert's old tapestry sent to him in the Vale. So is he going to show signs of softcore porn and hope to initiate something? Probably. He's been trying to kiss her like 5 times. Let me bring the questions back up. I'll do a few more of these. We'll make a pretty good time. All right, so skipping down some more. Let's see, this one's from Gina Lola, and she says, "I wish they would have casted Melisandre as the River Witch. Would have been cool to see the Red Woman in the show. Excuse me, Ixostar." Thank you for leaving that comment, Gina. Thank you for being a member of my Patreon as well. I agree. It would have been cool to see Carice Van Houten back on the show. I just I kind of shared my thoughts on that. I would like to see Melisandre as Carice Van Houten appear towards the end of the series as someone who sort of witnessed the events of the story. I don't want her to secretly be someone else because then it'll raise too many questions. Like, why didn't she potentially tell Stannis about the Dance of the Dragons and how like, you know what I mean? It just raises too many questions. Thank you for that, Gina Lola. And the next one is from J Sweetness 5. And he says, I think his math was wrong on the budget. Yes, it was. Intentionally. I intentionally did that. The last part with the 25 million times 10 because it was so obvious. I just said there was only going to be 7 episodes that had the budget of 25 million. But yeah, so yeah, you caught that. Thank you, Jay Sweetness. Next one's from Lisa Joseph. I'm just kind of skipping around. So Cheryl Baxter said 420. Thank you for that, Cheryl Baxter. Lisa Joseph said, I'd love to see Robert's Rebellion prequel. Oakenfish 106 said second that. I agree. Robert's Rebellion prequel. I want to see that too. But the thing is like if they wait for that, like if they wait to sort of do that, it'd be better because the actors that in the beginning of Game of Thrones season 1, right? Mark Addy, Sean Bean, those actors are like they would be the stars of Robert's Rebellion. Problem with that is they no longer look like how they did, right? When Game of Thrones came out in 2011, and also they would have had to have been 15 years younger than that for Robert's Rebellion. So what I'm getting at here is Robert's Rebellion would work. It would be an amazing thing. I'd love to watch it, but just wait a little bit longer. So that we kind of forget about Game of Thrones season 1. Like we'll never truly forget about it, but it'll be more time. It'll give them more time to cast people who look like the actors, younger versions. Because I think that's a big thing with TV shows, especially Game of Thrones first aired literally 10 years ago. Literally 12 years ago, right? Like I remember when the show came out, when the show was ending in 2019, they kept saying, "We've been doing this for 10 years. The show's been on for 10 years." No, it wasn't. Y'all have been working on the show for that long. The pilot was filmed in 2009, but nobody ever seen it. The show didn't air until 2011. So all that stuff and all that stuff, yeah, like it's literally anyway, I would like to see Robert's Rebellion. I just want them to wait a little bit, maybe to give them more time. I gotta fix my hair. Um, just give them a little bit more time to, I guess, kind of find people that look like the actors. And then the next, I'll do a few more of these, and then I'll move on to the next subject matter. So the next one is from A. Claudia Puxow. Sorry for butchering that. Lily James just happens to be Matt Smith's ex. Interesting. Now that's kind of funny. Like, I did that video. I said Lily James potentially is going to be casted as Alys Rivers, and then literally the next day, Emily Beecham has a casting for it. So maybe y'all should give Sir Hunt a little bit more credibility because maybe he does actually have some inside people sending him some inside information or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't even know who Lily James was. So Lily James apparently dated Matt Smith for a while. I don't know how they broke up, if things ended amicably, but she's pretty. She props on you, Matt Smith, for getting that one. Thank you for leaving that comment. So yeah, that's actually really interesting. I didn't know that. That was his ex. That's kind of funny. Didn't he also date Emilia Clarke? I'm sorry, not Emilia Clarke. Or weren't they friends with Emilia Clarke? I was about to say not Emilia Clarke. I meant to say Daenerys. That's where my brain's at. So the next comment, the last one that I'm going to answer in this video / live stream is damn. It's from JMJ6366. And they said, damn, I didn't even get a notification for this. Well, hopefully you got a notification for this. I'm sorry. YouTube kind of does sort of like just whatever the heck it wants to when it comes to my notifications on my channel. Like I honestly thought once I got verified, like I wouldn't lose 5 subscribers every day, and then 10 every time I upload. Um, but I will say this: YouTube has gotten back with me way faster since my channel's been verified. So I've had a couple of issues with some videos of mine being demonetized after they already were monetized and made public. YouTube got back with me within a few hours. So that was pretty cool. I actually forgot the question. Holy crap! What was it? Oh, the notification thing. So thank you for submitting that. And I'm going to do one more because that wasn't really a question. So the next one is from Corey7 661. And they said, I watched an interview with Steve Toussaint on Black with No Chaser TV on YouTube. He said they start filming in early April and end in late October, early November. Nice. I actually saw a clip of that on Instagram. I had never heard of Black with No Chaser. They kind of do what I do, like YouTube videos, on TV shows and like reaction kind of. I've been trying to get Steve as an I've been trying to get I've been trying to get I've been trying to get interviews left and right. So Steve, if you're watching this, come on my channel. I would love to talk to you about being Lord of the Tides. Also, I enjoyed you in Prince of Persia. Most people didn't know that Steve was in that movie. And that was back before any of this stuff came out. So anyway, that's interesting. So he doesn't start filming until April. The thing with that is not all of the actors start filming at the same time, right? So I've had a director tell me they're going to be busy until March, and that's not private information because they actually tweeted that in their Instagram story. They said they're going to be busy in March filming, right? Um, so like March, April is when they're going to start. They're finalizing the scripts right now. A bunch of the castings that you'll see come out publicly in the next few months have already been finalized. Um, like the guy that auditioned for Charlie C and the woman that auditioned for Alice Rivers, or AR was the character's name. They most likely didn't get the role. That's why the things were made public. The audition reels were made public. Like for instance, Elliot Tittenser and Luke Tittenser are the twins who play Eric and Arik Cargill, and their audition reel was never public. But the people who tried to audition for their role, that was public. It was on Vimeo for months. So any of these audition reels that we see, potentially whoever is in them didn't get the role. So when the cast is public, and a similar thing actually happened with the actor who's playing Steve Toussaint, who's playing Corliss, right? So before he was announced as the actual role, there were rumors that Danny Spani, I don't know how to say his last name, was going to be playing Corliss. Obviously, he didn't get the role. Steve Toussaint did, right? So that's kind of how the game goes with that stuff. It would be really cool to see that Emily Beecham chick as and the guy who played Charlie C, he did an amazing job too. All right. So was that the last question? Yes. All right. So, the next thing that I wanted to discuss was our boy Euron. All right. Now Euron, and specifically this was requested by Brienne Johnson, who is a lovely, lovely patron of mine. And she also, donates all the time here on YouTube. Donated, helped me get this laptop. Like her donation was the final one that I sort of needed to push me over the edge to get the laptop. But she specifically requested that I do some Euron discussion. I'm trying to put myself in this up at the same time. This is the wiki page for Euron. I was just trying to get a big image of him, but I don't see that happening apparently. So Euron, a lot of people like to call. You know what? Let me do this better. I can. There we go. That looks good. All right. I could technically crop the address bar out, but that's all right. Let's do this. All right. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. Sorry, Sir Hunson's a perfectionist. It may not seem that way, but I promise you, I am. Anyway, so our boy Euron is someone who is heavily set up in A Song of Ice and Fire before he does finally make his appearance in A Feast for Crows, right? So, in short, um, crap. Let me start at the beginning. So, there's Balon, right? Balon is the father of Theon and Asha, right? Theon and Asha or Yara for the TV show are siblings, but they're almost nothing alike. So Theon was Balon's last son and heir, and then he's taken from him at age 10. Goes and lives with the Starks. Goes and becomes a ward / hostage of Ned Stark, right? I made a rap song called When the Kraken Ate the Wolf. Please go listen to it. It's pretty funny. But anyway, so Yara, or Asha, was raised to be sort of the replacement for Theon. Like her father always relied on her. So naturally, when he dies, she's his heir. Problem is, the Iron Islands has never been ruled by a woman's. That may be the case, but technically King Balon was committing treason by naming himself King Balon. This is just my little thoughts. Yara could totally rule the Iron Islands, just not as a queen. She could rule them as the same thing Balon was when King Robert was still alive, after his little rebellion, right? So anyway, Theon does what he does and ends up being... lastly, the last thing that's happened to him is he's a prisoner of Stannis, and they're marching to go take Winterfell, okay? Yara also is a prisoner of Stannis. On this march to go take Winterfell. She was there before Theon. But anyway, before that happens, there's this event known as the Kingsmoot, right? So Balon dies by walking across a bridge at night. So Pike is pretty stupid design, but it's basically these tall rock spires and cliffs, and the castle's built in that. And in between, connecting the different parts of the castle, are these narrow bridges that sway in the wind. Specifically, Theon remembers when he was a child, he would run across the bridges with no fear. Then when he returns as an adult, he's shaking like a damn lamb trying to cross the bridge, right? So Balon ends up dying by falling off of one of these bridges into the sea. And then lo and behold, the next day, 2 days later, this fucker Euron shows up. When he shows up, it's a problem. Euron is... what does he say? Aeron, I am the godliest man to ever sit the sea stone chair. You serve one god, I serve thousands. I have... Basically, he goes across the world sacrificing people, killing them, and then he throws them into the sea. So he's like saying, I'm the godliest man of all time. And technically, he sort of is. In that sense. He's sacrificed more than any other person to those gods, because most people have this thing called a conscience, and Euron doesn't. Euron has no conscience, right? So he shows up for this Kingsmoot, and it's really interesting because, and I'm kind of skipping around here. I just wanted to just make this proportion for, specifically for Brienne Johnson. This is for you. So, you know, the Kingsmoot is called, in Yara's POV and Asha's POV, she tries to convince her uncle through her mom, her maternal uncle who's known as, his name is Roderick Harlaw, but he's called Roderick the Reader because he reads a lot, right? Very smart dude, very intelligent. His plan is the best for the Iron Islands. He wants them to be able to live, grow their own food and stuff. That's what Asha ends up, deciding is best for the Iron Islands. Because the reason why the Iron Islanders have to go out and rape and breed is because the Iron Islands themselves can't grow food. They can't really sustain the lifestyle that they need to for their population on the Iron Islands, so they're sort of forced to go out to find what they need, So at the Kingsmoot, there's several different people who try to convince the Iron Islands to name them king, right? And what's interesting is one of the first people who talks at the Kingsmoot is this dude who's from Lonely Light, and he can fucking warg seagulls. He can warg seagulls. The people at the Lonely Light have Northman blood. I mean, not just them, but the Iron Islands have Northman blood too. Like, um, pretty much all the houses are raised, sort of mixed in, but like there's a link between the Northmen and the Ironborn that hasn't been fully flushed out by George. Like, we don't know all the information, but just know that there was at one point a giant ship, right? That's not that impressive. It's a ship. The Iron Islanders need ships to get around, but guess what? The ship was made out of weirwood. It was made out of weirwood trees. They made a ship out of weirwood trees. Not just an arrow to be able, as a warrior, to control the weirwood arrow and make it go wherever you want to, right? That's what Bloodraven did. No, they made an entire ship. Its hull, its mast, everything, its sail, all of it was made out of weirwood. Obviously, the sails themselves are not made out of wood. That wouldn't work. But then that ship crashes up on the shore, and then petrifies and turns to stone, because weirwood never technically dies. It just hardens and turns to stone, right? And it's known as the bones of Naga's Hill. And the actual vessel itself sort of looks like the bones of a sea dragon called Naga or whatever. That's the location where this King's Moot is taking place. But anyway, it's kind of interesting that these people who live out on the Lonely Light, it's like 5 days sail west of the westernmost point of Westeros. So where Arya's going, Lonely Light. But anyway, the people there are wargs, and they can warg into seagulls. And when the guy's given his speech, he wargs into a seagull, and his eyes, it's mentioned that, because this is all, the King's Moot is all viewed from the perspective of Aeron, Damphair, the priest, and it just mentions that his eyes go gray and then white, and like it's mentioned that they could warg. Aeron thinks about how they could warg into certain things, and like that's queer, and they're demons meant to placed there by the Drowned God to lead them away to the Storm God or some shit. But anyway, after that guy says his piece, the Lonely Light guy says his piece, then you have this other guy, Eric Ironmaker. He says his piece, right? He's this really old dude who potentially, if he could have walked, he would have been the king. He would have literally been the king of the Iron Islands, but he couldn't walk. So what happens is he gives... Shit, that sounded crazy. What happens is he gives this speech, and it riles everybody up. And then out of nowhere, Yara walks up. Asha walks up, and she's like, "That's a really good speech, lad, but walk. Stand up and walk." And she goes, "I'll be the first one to pledge my fealty to you. Bend the knee, right? I'll follow you in the battle. I'll name you king if you can just get up and walk." Obviously, he can't. He tries, but he ultimately sits back down. So that guy says his piece. The war guy says his piece. Then ultimately, Victarion says his piece. Then Asha says her piece. And then Euron comes in and says his piece. Gets everybody to name him King of the Iron Islands. One of the ways he says this is by basically saying, "Aeron, I've been everywhere. I've done everything. I'm the person to lead, the Iron Islands into..." Excuse me. I can't edit none of this out because this would have all been in the live stream too. So y'all gonna see all of this. I'm trying to think here. So yeah, Aeron, basically ends up being a prisoner on Euron's ship. So that's not necessarily the most interesting part that I wanted to talk about to sort of wrap up this Euron part of the video. It was the conversation that he has with Victarion after he's already named king. So Victarion comes and meets with him, and Euron is half naked, and he's drinking the basically, it's called Shade of the Evening, but it's the Warlock. So when Daenerys has House of the Undying vision, she literally drinks this stuff, right? Bran drinks a very similar concoction of things north of the Wall. When Daenerys does this, it induces all of these hallucinations that she has in the House of the Undying. Euron just drinks this shit for fun. So he is in a constant state a perpetual state of hallucinations. He probably cannot discern reality very well. That's the whole point. Euron is a big airheaded airhead, so he might have some mystical abilities and he might have some knowledge, forbidden knowledge that no one knows, but ultimately he's full of crap because of his constant need to drink shade of the evening. Like, even if it does give him the gift of foresight, that's part of prescience, is part of the whole theme of Dune. It never works out the way they want it to. So anyway, Euron probably is a former pupil of Bloodraven. I hear you, Batman. And one of the main reasons why I say this is because, um, there's visions that Melisandre and Bran have that sound like Euron being the great other. So, for instance, Melisandre sees. Okay, Batman. I'm sorry, not Melisandre. Bran sees a vision in which he sees a red eye, right, on a black field, and then a crown supported by two iron spikes. And there's like a red eye with a crow on it. The crow is holding up the iron spikes. That's Euron. That's Euron's, uh, like the flag or the sail or whatever on his ship, the Silence, right? Um, it's his new badge of armor of arms that he's took. Um, But the language that he has, in particular, in the conversation with Victarion, sounds very similar to the conversation that Bran has with Bloodraven. So I've mentioned this before in several videos. I've done like 20-minute videos on it. Bran is a current pupil of Bloodraven, and Euron used to be what Bran is currently. So obviously, Bloodraven is not perfect. He makes mistakes. He was searching for a replacement, and through the Weirwood visions and just like proximity to power, like he's searching out through the world and looking for potential replacements, and he finds Euron. He doesn't realize Euron is already sort of going down this path that there's no stopping, right? So he sends visions to Euron. He tries to ultimately get him to come north of the wall to come to Bloodraven's cave, right? Euron probably starts the process to do that, and then Bloodraven sees a little bit more down his future and realizes, oh shit, I made a mistake. Let me backtrack. So then he immediately stops giving Euron visions. And if you remember in House of the Dragon, that's what drove Viserys crazy, is that he had the vision and then stopped getting it. And he spent his whole life trying to recreate the vision or trying to find it. Same thing happens to Cersei when Maggie the Frog tells her that a younger, more beautiful queen will come up and take everything she has away from her. She becomes obsessed with it. It destroys her. Paul Atreides from Dune. He becomes obsessed with this self-fulfilling prophecy and ultimately destroys him, right? That's what this is. That's what I'm getting back to. Euron was given this ability, was given these dreams and these visions, and then they stopped. And everything Euron has done since that point, since Bloodraven stopped giving him those gifts and abilities and stopped opening his third eye, he's been doing whatever he can to seek out Bloodraven. So when he's banished, he goes to Valyria. He does all these things. He's trying to figure out what it was that was given to him, the ability, the visions that he saw when he was a child. He's trying to figure that out. And in doing that, he becomes this dark, manipulated servant of evil. Uh, Evil in the sense of A Song of Ice and Fire, so it's never pure evil. Depending on what perspective you're looking at it from, you could probably see some good in it, right? But ultimately, that's who Euron is. Euron is a faking faker who potentially does have some dark forbidden knowledge, but he's being used as a pawn by whatever the actual great evil is in A Song of Ice and Fire. That great evil is the direct opposite to the god R'hllor or the fire god or the deity that controls dragons in that magic, because ultimately dragons in that magic fight the great other, the fire. Fire fights the ice, White Walkers, the undead, right? So that's the whole theme of that. And I think Euron is a servant of the others, but he doesn't realize it. Um, Damn, that was pretty good. So then the next portion, thank you for that, Brienne. The next portion is let's just do a little bit. I've done a bunch of House of the Dragon content recently, but just to sort of you know check it. Check to see right now if there's any news. Nope, same stuff. But yeah, so you know, just to sort of discuss, like, just refresh anybody who hasn't seen those videos. There was rumors of people saying that the show is delayed. That's not the case. The show's only been off for a few months. It hasn't been long enough for anything to really be delayed. And then there was, the casting rumors. The Emily Beecham potentially playing Alice Rivers, and then we had the one actor playing Charlie C. Potentially, there was another one for Boris. Like I said, all those actors have already, all those roles have already been cast. They just haven't been announced publicly yet. And the people that we saw auditioning the roles probably didn't get the roles. That's why we saw them. And then I was sent information that supposedly the budget for season 2 is going to increase from 20 million per episode to 25 million per episode for most of the episodes, and then there's a few of them, like 2 or 3, that may go up to 30 million. That's incredible. And then also potentially, once they do start filming like leaked images, that's like the most fun to do because we'll get partial pieces of the set, right? So like, we saw, remember in episode 4 or episode 5 when Cole and Rhaenyra are on the ship, we saw that being filmed. We got to see them on the ship being filmed, so that was really cool. It was because that set was too big to build inside of Leavesden, so they had to build it outside, and someone flew a drone over and got us aerial images. And now, since we have a feel for this show, what it looks like, what it feels like, what the cast is like, right, we actually have a lot more to go off of now when we see images, or like when we see certain characters whose plot lines are now connected, right? It's the greatest time to be a super fan of the show like myself, because we get all this stuff and sort of get to fantasize and dream about it for, the next year or so, and then it finally airs. And usually, most of the time, they go far beyond exceeding my expectations, right? And then the next thing that I wanted to talk about. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna save that for a video. This is a good point to wrap this up. Um, this was just to make up for the live stream that I didn't have this week, and also I wanted to see if it does a little bit better in YouTube's algorithm. The last live stream that I did last week on King Magor doesn't even have 1,000 views yet. So I don't know if it's because I'm live streaming too often, or it's because the algorithm will treat sort of like a long podcast better than it would a live stream. I don't know. But if you all enjoyed this, please let me know down below in the comment section. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and please just slap a like on this video. Along that, until reasonable.age.org.